bed aside. You like your photos taken. What a journey that would have been to do that story. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you came into finding that story and how long that journey was for you?
I first began in 2011, and I heard about this story about Jordan's principle, and I got in touch with Cindy Blackstock. I knew she was very involved in it. And so first I went to James Bay for another film, and I ended up, since then, this is the seventh film. And it took a long time, as you can see, with the court case before we got to where they are now. And it's hard to believe, but that's the way it happened. But the fantastic thing is that there is a change that everybody fought for so long for, and now Jordan's principle is very much alive, and children are getting the help that they need. Just that alone was just for me a magic day that day when I was in the courtroom and I saw how everybody really was really together for the betterment of the life of our children. So it is possible. Even inside the government, things happen, and this was really a great day.
I know there's probably questions out there. Maybe? Anyone got any questions? I mean, one of the things that Alanis, I mean, this is your 53rd film now, and which is amazing. And children have always played a part in some of the stories. Um, why did you think it was important to tell this story at this time as well?
Oh my God, it's more than important. Can you imagine having so many thousands of children that are in those kinds of needs and not getting encouraged or help unless the parents give them away to the government as boards, which means it's goodbye. Like when Cindy explains as if the child stays away for 6 months and that's it, they'll give it out for adoption and the parents never see them again. And it happened to a lot of children. That alone is very bad. Can you imagine? We'll help you if you leave your parents. We'll help a stranger take care of you, but we're not going to help your parents. Just that alone is a very sick way of judging what's good for the people.
I mean, it sort of kind of reminds you a little bit of residential school in some way, you know, but now it's the sick that are getting that sort of treatment.
But, I repeat myself often, but there are a lot of good people everywhere in this country and everywhere. And I'm just so thankful for all the work that people have done and to make the changes and to finally really come to this real decision. When if you are not indigenous, then if you're living in the city, there's no problem. But if you are, there is a problem.
And have you done a screening at Norway House of the film?
There's been two screenings. One of them, first they have an office for Jordan's Principle. And I was talking to the person in charge, and she said, we think that the family should see the film first alone. And I think that was a very good decision. And they did that, and apparently it was obviously all those children seeing their mother and who passed away 6 months after Jordan. It was very, they cried, and it was hard for them to watch, but also this person that Ryan was there. He said at the end they were all smiling. They were happy to see this wonderful news and see the change. And yesterday or the day before, they were looking at it with the community, all the people in the village, but also many other people in other communities came. And it's very, very well received, and they all want their own copy to show it in their own area, which I'm very happy about that.
I have a question about your thoughts about the chronic underfunding of First Nations education. I am involved in my education authority, and I'm Judy Sutherland. I'm from Moose Factory, so my nation is Moose Cree, and I see it in our elementary, the funding that if one of our students from our First Nation goes off reserve, that provincial school gets 14,000 something per child, not just special needs.
No.
And our First Nation school on our reserve, we get about 6,800
Yeah.
for tuition. So we have to make that difference just to function,
Yes.
and not even talking about special needs. Like
Yes.
I call this criminal. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Well, I've also been fighting on that one also. Actually, I made another film in Norway House, which is called Our People Will Be Healed, and it's about that. It's about the school. They have a school there that I think every community should have. It's just an unbelievable model. Just to give you a small example, like we filmed 500 children playing the violin in Norway House. They have a jamboree every year with all these connection of these different schools that are part of the same system. And it's really, it's a provincial school. It's not federally, I don't know, leading, I don't know what the word is. And this is the best I've seen yet around. But it's also decided by the community themselves. They decide what the program is going to be, what they're teaching, the history, their own history, the treaties, the language comes first. And there's a music section also. You should look at that film because this is incredible. It's also in the attitude of the community itself. Like for instance, the principal in this film explained. She says, "We were doing very well. They go to grade 12 in that school, from kindergarten to grade 12." And she said, by the time that they get to grade 9, we have, I could be making a mistake in the number, but similar that maybe we have 200 students, and then grade 10, and then it starts going down. By the time we get to grade 12, we have very few children graduating. So she said we felt it was a problem, that was a very serious one, and we know that teenagers never want to get up in the morning, so we changed our ways. Instead of forcing them to come at 8 o'clock, 8:30, we made it another bus at 9:30. And we tell the parents we prefer that they come in late than not come at all. And that has changed a lot of the attitude of the students. Where that first year they did that, they had I think 60 young people from grade 12 who graduated. But it's just the mind, it's just the idea of saying, well, you're going to be punished. If you're late, the door is locked and go back home, like a lot of the school, that's how it is. And I just thought, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like it's the children that are kings there. To change the whole system so that the kids will be happy, they'll want to learn, and they show up. I find that it's so healthy in their way of thinking and the attitude of the teachers. It's a very, very good example. And I first went to Atawapiskat because they were fighting for a school, because they were all in mobiles. They won too. They have a nice school there now. It just goes to show you, it's not going to happen if you don't do anything yourself. You have to fight, and you have to fight all the way, and believe in it, and this is justice, and it's going to happen. We are the government, us people. So I see the changes all the time, and then, this is a good proof of what can happen in this kind of situation.
Do you think that some of the systemic racism that happens in the health system or in other areas is starting to change?
It's more than starting. It is changing. I would say the last 5-10 years, we've seen a lot of changes, and of course the reconciliation has been very helpful. And also, like let's say 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, like I've been making films for 52 years. And I once was a child. That's why I'm here. And no matter what you said, no matter what thing went wrong, you said, I'm tired of hearing of Indians. They're always complaining. They drink, they don't pay tax. That was it. And now it's different. Like I travel all the time in this country. And my way of explaining it, I feel there's an ear. Whatever you're talking about, in general, I think Canadians wants to see justice done to our people. I really believe that. And you no matter what we talk about, there's I feel something new, something honest. Like I feel, gee, they're really listening. There's an interest. And it doesn't matter where I go. I find that there's people, I always meet somebody, it makes me feel good. I say, see, there are lots of good people all over, and I want to acknowledge them. And I tell young people, our people, anything you want to do, you can do. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can do. There's a place there for you. In all the institutions, Canada is a very special country in a lot of ways, especially in terms of the institutions that we have. And now it's not like before. You'd be so shy to go into a place like that to apply for a grant for if you're an artist or if you want to make a film. It was not that easy. Now it is easy. There's a space, there's money, especially for Indigenous young people to be able to go into any discipline. We've come a long way. And I think I can only say thank you to all Canadians, because you are the ones who sponsor these institutions. And there's a lot of good being done.
Hi. I saw your film in Edmonton about the court case.
A big one?
I saw your film in Edmonton about the court case with
Yeah.
Cindy Blackstock. And my question is twofold. One of them is, how do you, as a filmmaker, maintain distance about something that you care so much about? And what is your process for being grounded spiritually, filming such difficult content? And then the other question is that,
That was two questions in that one question.
how to do that part. And then the other thing is that I think a lot of Indigenous people in media see it as a tool, like an eagle whistle, or like a wing that our elders use to pray with. And I'm just wondering how you care for that tool to do the work that you do, which is difficult and far-reaching. Because we don't really have elders in the media, and you're the only one I see.
Oh, there's lots of us around. There's a lot of young people doing things, and you just being at this festival here, there's so much love here this week with all the people and all the young people that I've seen in quite a few short films, and I'm very, very impressed. It's because it's made easier now, and there's a lot of places that you can get help and that you can get training, that you're encouraged. That is now, wasn't 10 years ago. It was very difficult. Imagine me, I won't tell you about me when I started. So, but it all has to do with how do you believe. You go into your heart, and how much do you believe? How much do you love? Are you going to fight to the end for this thing? Yes. And it happens, and it changes. It's not just me, it's a lot of people all across this country. A lot of indigenous are making changes, and a lot of non-indigenous people who are our friends are helping out, and there's a lot of good things happening. I want you to remember that. I'm not saying that everything is okay, it's not true, but it's amazing. Everything is possible now, and we get a little respect.
So the first part of his question was, how do you say stay objective, which I've never known you to be.
Objective?
And how do you
kidding?
keep yourself grounded when you're dealing with these big stories that you do?
Yeah, you say, oh yeah, if you're a good filmmaker, you're objective, you don't feel. Well, I'm a bad one. I feel. And I care. But I also recognize what people are trying to do, what they're doing, whether they're government agencies or, like this is wonderful. Just watching in court the attacks, like there's another film I made, it's called We Can't Make the Same Mistake Twice. In there, Indian Affairs, they're giving each other award for not spending the money. So what a switch from that to this film, to this decision. So I kept thinking, how is it that somebody has the power to help and you give yourself an award for not helping? I don't understand that. Do you? It's very weird. Because it's such a good feeling when if you have the power to help and you do it. If you have power in a job that you have and you keep it under your arm and I've got a little power here and I'm keeping it for myself. You go nowhere with that. If you have power, you spread it around to who needs it. That's where you make changes, and that's where you feel good. It's such a wonderful feeling to help out somebody, to make somebody feel good. Even sometimes it's just words, or it's just the way you look at somebody. And this is what we have to think about. It all has to do with love at the end. You love people? Wouldn't you like to see somebody who's very sick that you would be able to help? Make that person feel better? Help out to get medicine? To hold his hand? That's beautiful. That's love. That's real love. And you help everybody, and especially children. I can't stand any injustice to any children. And I think we all have that in ourselves. We all have gifts, and we have to get it out. We all have good things. Instead of always complaining and putting people down and treating them like shit, excuse me, that doesn't feel good. But for those who do that, because we have people around who behave like that too, if you start trying the other way, see how good you feel. You go to sleep at night and you know that you made somebody feel better today. It's very simple.
there was the story about the young girl, the 12-year-old, and has her story been done? That's in the film? Is that what you were talking about?
Do you mean I Who Mr. He in James Bay who was fighting for a school? Shannon Kustashin? I made a film about that too. Yeah?
Oh, the two young girls that died by suicide?
Oh, yeah, this is terrible. This is really terrible. Like, there was a lot of young people getting together, and they call that a
Suicide pact.
suicide pact. So we've had a lot of suicide, but it is changing. I'm not saying that it's all cured, that's not true, but I know of a lot of, there's a short film you can look at that I made for CBC. It's called Walking is Medicine. It's only about 10 minutes long. And you see in there children, 15, 16 years old, have walked from James Bay to Ottawa to speak to the government and to show what the rights were and what the changes that they wanted. And all these young people, they talk a lot about suicide. But they're so young, they're talking like old men, like old women. Just the name of the film, Walking is Medicine, is one young man who said that. And they describe how they feel just walking all these, for a week, I think it took them to get to Ottawa. And realizing that the pain and the alcoholism and the drug addict and all that stuff, this is not the answer. And it's young people that are teaching us, that are telling us this. And wanting to make the change, and they go to universities, they go to school, they march every so many times a year, and what they talk about is life. And say things like, there's one young man in it, he's the one that says walking is medicine. He says that he goes and talks to other young people, and he says he always feels a presence next to him, and he knows it's a relation, an ancestor of his. They're very much turning to old values, what our people did, how they believed, how they were healthy at one time. And they know that it's going back to these places. It's not outside or people who are in wanting to help out. It's not the outside. It's got to come from inside. And the young people more and more realize that. And it's amazing, the movement and how strong it is to help other young people to come out of that darkness. And it's happening all over the country. So it's certainly not an easy subject, but there's help, and there's a lot of movement, and a lot of it comes from the young people.
Well, I just want to say, as a warrior, for all of us, oh my God, I'm emotional. This is my last time I'm programming for imagineNATIVE, and I had the privilege of meeting you 20 years ago at the first imagineNATIVE, and you have been the light for all of us. You've been a joy to watch all of your films and admire you and get to know you as a friend, to bring you to Australia as well, but also to be a voice for our people, a warrior that holds not just the spear and the healing, but the camera that tells the messages to the world of our stories. And we thank you for Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just came on.
Hello. There's a young lady here from Moose Factory. She's going to be making a very important film. And my first 16 millimeter film that I did it in Moose Factory. I first went there in 1967, and it's called Christmas at Moose Factory. And lately, in the bunch of film that I made, there's another film I made. It's called Trick or Treaty. And I went back to Moose Factory. That tells you what it's about. And I went back to Moose Factory, and as I was standing there, this lady comes over to me with all white hair, and she said, "Alanis, do you recognize me?" I said, "No, I'm sorry." She said, "Well, I was one of the child at the residential school when you came to do Christmas at Moose Factory." And she comes to my ear, and she sings a song that I taught them at that time. I'm going to sing it for you, and I'll tell you what it means. And what I told the children, like they speak Cree, Swampy Cree. I speak not Welsh, I speak Wabanaki, but there are many words that are very much resemble. It's part of the Algonquin nation. Nokum in our language, or Nokum means grandmother. And this song is very funny, and I told the children, for a long time, when we were small, not allowed to sing in your language, the missionaries and the teachers, they learned the language, and they put religious song to some important tune of perhaps France or England. So this song here, I said to the children, you just tell them it's a hymn. And this woman sang this song to my ear, and all it says is "No kumge wipe ma." My grandmother. I put my head on her breast. Oh, so nice and warm. I fall asleep again. And the kids were singing that, and that old lady sang this to be in my ear. It made me so happy. And it goes like this. No kumge wipe ma. Wake up, kwa mian, hey ya hey ya hey ya ho, hey ya hey ya hey ya ho. I could sing it for a long time, but just give you an idea.
That was incredible. Before everyone goes, I just want to share just a few more words. I'm Jason Ryle. I'm the executive director here at imagineNATIVE. And I can't tell you how much this festival's 2 decades have been shaped and inspired by this incredible human being here. I first met Alanis at Sundance in 2004. I was working a story for the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian, and I was shit scared to meet you that day. I also happened to meet Merita Mita at the same time, and did an interview with the two of them that really defined how I saw our screen cultures. So from the bottom of my heart, Alanis, I mean, like, you have been one of the most inspirational people in my life, and I can never thank you for all that you've done for us. This 20th anniversary just would not be complete without Alanis. So some of tokens of our thanks and gratitude, we've done the special edition silk scarves with Alanis's prints that are downstairs in the gift shop. Alanis is also sharing, there's only a few left. Alanis is also sharing a song tomorrow at the awards presentation, which is really exciting. I also want to say that I had the pleasure of writing an introduction for the National Film Board of Canada's online digital collection of Alanis's documentary works. Most of the works are available at nfb.ca, so I also invite you there to explore this. And Pauline said it so eloquently. I mean, it was such a rare gift to go back and watch Alanis's films from the start in preparation for writing that piece. And really what I came away with was really just a strong realization of what she's done and what her work has done for us, and that's protect us. I mean, I feel so protected by her and the work that she's created over these decades. So again, thank you so much. We love you so much.